understanding of all of the departments. You know, you have 5 departments, you have the staff bureau, and it's a couple of silos that you need to try to basically put together in order to advise the minister wisely. So it's a hard task.
Yeah, yeah. Now we saw the situation play out when it comes to you as well as MP Christopher Emmanuel when it came to basically the governor signing the LDAs for you guys to become ministers respectively.
Yes.
Unfortunately, he disagreed with that. A lot of people said, okay, if that was the case, why didn't PFP then just submit another name so we could continue the process and then you still remain maybe as chief of staff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we thought about it, and of course that was actually the plan. To let somebody else take the helm while we, fought my case. But in order for that to happen, the governor would have to have done his job as per the regulation of the governor and sent my LB to Holland as per Article 21 of the regulation. Why? Because a LB sent by the Prime Minister to the governor, in the case that he does not agree with it, he either has two choices. He either signs it or he sends it up to Holland. I mean, he does not have the authority to give his personal opinion on the matter. And when you look at my case, I mean, I've been transparent about my screening. I've sent all of my documents to the public for them to see that I actually did pass my screening.
Right.
But of course, the governor's opinion on something that my paykeeper says is basically why he is telling me, well, maybe you should wait until so it's a gray area, and I couldn't agree with it legally. So therefore, we did the job and send the LB up, and I think that day after he would have done our next candidate because we had him ready.
I think it's something that you might need to clear up because everyone, when looking at the screening process, we do know that if you have a conviction, it's very, very difficult for you to pass screening. And a lot of people was holding this incident that happened with you. I think it was in 2019,
2018, yes.
2018 that happened with the accident.
Yes, there was. I indeed wasn't an accident, and it was because another driver, a drunk driver, basically flew over the ramp coming over there by, let's say,
right after you passed Motor World, and you're supposed to take that right. He came straight
down.
Wrong.
With a little maneuver, actually, both of our lives. But that wasn't really why we were taken to the police station. Then it was basically because of police brutality. When the officers came there, my father came to see what went on. One of the officers unrightfully pulled out his gun and put it at my father. He pointed it at my father's face, and everything was actually filmed. Luckily. And that's the only reason why I got to beat my case. And because right after that, I immediately ran between my dad and the officer, and I put myself in between him and the gun because I wanted to protect my dad.
Right.
And that was basically the incident why we got arrested. And the judge in first instance convicted us. And when we took it to the appeals court said, wait, actually, according to what all had happened, you guys didn't even have to be prosecuted. It says this in my appeals verdict as well. It said the police were wrong, and the police were actually the ones who escalated the situation. But when you look at the law and you see assault, a simple push can also be classified as that. And the judge also said this in the verdict. They said, well, given the fact that it's a blow to fight, it is just a push. It can be proven, but given all of the circumstances, we cannot deem that act to be punishable by law, and therefore I received no sentence, and therefore I have no criminal record as well. So it's a matter of opinion, but by the end of the day, I can confirm to you that in the past, people have sworn in to become ministers. Actually, in Minnesota, VROMI with a conviction. That is also a fact, and that has happened in the past. So President was said. So again, with the governor and his opinion, it's always going to be a gray area, and therefore I said, if that is the case, send my LB up to Holland and then let them decide, because then we also have some clarity for the people of St. Martin for the future, for anybody else that wants to put on themselves for screening, because it's good for us to know what are the conditions and what are the restrictions, because right now we have absolutely no idea, and it's basically the governor who decides.
Okay, so now we're seeing a lot of talk of reform. Let's bring electoral reform, and a lot of people are saying, oh, only now they're thinking about it because it affects them, in this case. What would you have to say about that?
No.
Lucio wants to take that.
Well, no, actually, in Parliament, 3 years ago, we actually proposed to bring the screenings law because Aruba was busy with one and Curacao has one. We actually proposed this, but the then coalition, the now opposition, said no.
Precisely.
They did not want it. We actually started the process, and then it was basically shut down in Parliament. So it was not for us. It's actually for the actual electoral reform, because this is not even part of the electoral reform. This has to do with screening.
Correct.
When you're talking about electoral reform, you have to talk about elections and leading up to elections. But this has to do with an LB from the Prime Minister going to the governor or not.
Okay. Now, Lucio, I know with the elections coming up, I know the last elections, you were very critical when it comes to education, and I believe that was one of the ministries that a lot of people felt failed over the last 4 years. If you do ask anyone's opinion. Moving forward to the snap elections, do you still have that passion, and do you still think that education is a
education will always be important, as we stated time and time again, you cannot build a nation without that foundation, and that foundation lies in education, right? In my new capacity as policy advisor in the cabinet of the Ministry of VROMI, I am now seeing that VROMI as well is in dire need of repair. You understand? It is a ministry that simply hasn't worked over the last 4 years. So I like to make this analogy. Imagine you have a car at the side of the road, right? This is your car, but it's missing parts, plenty parts, right? We know as cabinet members or as the minister, we have to push the car forward. That's not how the car is supposed to operate. You're supposed to have people in place so that the car runs. The minister only supposed to stay at the wheel. That's the only thing. But what's happening right now in VROMI, that's not happening, and that's the problem.
We found a car with no key.
Yeah. no, some people might beg to differ. I mean, I had the former minister of VROMI with us yesterday, and in his opinion, to him, over the last 4 years, VROMI has been pretty successful. He said he hired some locals in key positions. He did the housing project, signed off on that. Other projects he's been a part of as well. So he would beg to differ. I even asked him the question, why does he feel that the PFP is so hell-bent on VROMI and looks at him as public enemy number one?
I think Suppa, because he knows it's just a matter of time before the actual truth comes out. When you look at the housing project,
why wait not time? Tell us.
No, because we are still gathering the research, and it's a lot. For example, you just mentioned the housing project. Yeah. He did not finish off any housing project. He signed a decree and did not help them get it to the notary. So we had a meeting with the Housing Foundation last week, where the alarm is basically being sounded because 2 deadlines have not been met since March, and now we are rushing to get through to not lose this money for the housing project. So thank you for that, Minister, but the deadline was in March, and you did not do what you had to do. Second of all, he talked about I think some locals being hired. I believe it was 2 or 3 that were hired off. I think it was through Argent Bureau for the basis of 1 year, and he said that we were bullying I believe, to reverse the appointment of these locals. It is actually the opposite, Suppa. When we got in, all of these locals, their contract ends the 1st of June. The minister did not put everything in place to make sure that everybody remains to get a salary or even gets put into the position as a civil servant. Why? Because all we saw was a couple of advices sent up that said, these people need to be permanent. No elucidation. He did not put any of these locals through the HR cycle throughout this last year, which basically goes over their performance, because you have to justify putting somebody as an umpteener, that's part of good governance. He did not do any of this. He just assumed that, he can just write to say everybody goes permanent and that's it. That's not how it works. So what we did, we instructed the department head of these relevant departments to please elucidate for us the performance of all these individuals within the last year. Why? To substantiate their file as well, because it looks better when that file has to now go to the governor, who has to now sign the launch slide with absolutely no elucidation as to why this person has to become a permanent civil servant. We did that, and then we send those to the launch slide to the governor. So we were actually just trying to fix the situation that he put those people in place, because his actions, or basically his lack of actions, is why they did not even get a salary by the end of the month. So we had to actually expedite that as well.
It takes a little longer, but it's all about doing things the right way.
Okay,
that's all it's about. There are procedures in place so that we can enjoy this thing called good governance. Once you circumvent, you go around those procedures, that's when you run into problems, and that has been happening repeatedly in the Ministry of VROMI.
Okay, now let's go from another angle, because some people say that after the last press conference, when the Prime Minister mentioned about invoking Article 59, people said that they felt like, some people said it felt like doom and gloom. You guys came and you said the country is bankrupt, and this was going on, and with the mental health situation, what was being done at VROMI. Okay, so you guys went in as a chief of staff and also the policy advisor. Is there anything good, at least, that you could say that when you went into VROMI, that you could say, okay, things were done? I have to give kudos at least to the former minister here.
I would have to think on that one.
Come on, you can't be serious. Come on.
No, I'm, I hate to admit it, Super, but this is reality. I can tell you that domain is doing well, I would be lying. If I tell you that permit is doing well, I would be lying. If I tell you that the Department of New Projects is doing well, I would be lying. If I tell you that infrastructure management
But we're
is
seeing
doing
a lot
well,
of a lot of projects. We have the road, the road. What was it called again? Yeah, the whole side road project with the capex and everything. That's going ahead.
yeah, and if that's all you have to show in 4 years, I mean, look at GB, look around you. I mean, every positive that you give me, I can give you 10 negatives back. And the thing is with government, and especially with I'm hearing how the MP spoke yesterday, it seems that accountability is a foreign aspect for us.
That's it.
All
That's
we
it.
heard was, oh, but the blame is there. Oh, but I can't do anything there. I think he mentioned, for example, that he could not stop big developers from building because he has no legal basis to stop them, even if GB told him something. That's why you're a minister. That's why you
That is
create
your
the
job.
legal basis to protect people of Samata. Because if you don't do it, who is going to? Look around us. GB is load shedding everywhere. We had a total blackout. So when was the priority going to be made to at least let's up the grid with a couple of megawatts before we decide to sign off another permit within a month for a 14-story building all the way up Pupukoy again? Because these are the facts. You are not looking at the full grid and the people. You are looking at these big developers and their big developments coming in, but you're not even involved in GB. So
that's the problem. That's the main problem.
Sustainable.
GB told me that they have to drive around to see when a development is starting. Does that make sense?
I have a meeting scheduled with GB for this week to tell them about our upcoming developments, which we did not know about.
Them as well.
We just found them as approved building permits. So we need to talk to GB to let them know, listen, guys, this is going on. This is what's going to come on the grid maybe in a year or two. Are you guys prepared? Right. We already had this
meeting with GB. Obviously is no.
Yeah, and GB already told us that we need a follow-up meeting. But how can we find this out within a month? And you've been there for 4 years. And these developments have been ongoing because we did not reach from yesterday to today.
No.
I mean,
you cannot tell me that in your decision making you never thought to think about GB. You cannot tell me that. I mean, that was one of the first things we thought about when we saw these new developments coming online.
We can't settle for the excuse.
We wonder if GB know about this.
That's
what it was about.
And our mentality is not to automatically say, oh well, there is no legal basis to involve GB in this process, so therefore I am forced to give all these. No, it doesn't. Then you're not looking out for the people of Somalia or the country in general.
Yeah. Now let's talk about GEB, which everybody right now is just upset about. Solutions moving forward. What can be done? I see some things are being done in the short term. I saw Curacao and Aruba. They're going to be assisting us with some generators. But what about in the long run? What can we do? Because I see GB talking about purchasing some new diesel generators, which to me, this is my opinion, I think it doesn't make any sense. We need to start moving away from fossil fuels.
Definitely.
Start looking for other renewable energy.
I can say this. I do know that GB is in talks with Energynautics, and they're supposed to be doing an assessment on a roadmap on how they can adopt renewable energy.
Another roadmap? How much roadmaps we have? It's another side road thing.
Eventually, we will end up on the moon. Okay. But that being said, GB also has to come back to the negotiating table. We stated that it is time for them to look at their concession agreement. They need to allow the public to produce renewable energy in the amounts that they can take care of themselves as well.
Right.
I know it's going to be a financial strain on GB in the long run, but this is what has to happen now. Because
I think all this is causing even more of a financial strain on GB.
Oh, definitely. Because if we're going to fly in emergency generators, especially if they're diesel generators, we're in trouble. Who's going to pay for that? Heavy fuel oil is cheap, okay? But when you move over to diesel, we have a different story on our hands, and we're going to be paying through our nose. Eventually, that cost is going to come back to the consumers. Right. So we have to move forward. We have to look into the future. We have to look at renewable energy, and I believe that we need to start allowing the people of St. Martin to produce our energy on their own.
Yeah. But what is the problem? What is the concession that's stopping us?
So there is a limit to how much energy that you can produce. There's a limit to how much renewable energy you can produce, and I just believe that needs to be lifted, especially for the major companies, for let's say the big hotels and all of that kind of stuff. They should be able to produce a fraction of that energy that they require from GB themselves. That would take a load off of the grid.
Yeah. So what about a personal homeowner? Like
you should be able to do that. You can do it right in the concession agreements. There's a limit. I think it's something like 500 kilovolt amps. I can't. Don't quote me on that. You
now,
know,
is that enough to power a home?
Depends.
Yeah, it should be. It should be.
But that's
You
also
know?
what needs to be looked into. You know, the limit when it comes
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
concession
yeah.
agreement.
Yeah,
And
it
TB
should
has
be more
already
than enough.
agreed to let's discuss the
Yeah, they
concession
have
agreement
agreed to
again.
let's take a look at it. Let's see what we can do. Let's see how we can move forward. Yeah,
Okay.
they're open to it.
Right. All right. So moving forward, August 19th, what could we expect from PFP? Actually, before that, I asked the question because I asked the question to the Minister from yesterday. Why does he feel that PFP has this, beef towards him, or I don't want to say the word hatred, but this animosity towards him? So I asked him the question. He said, he he didn't want to get too much into it, but he did mention, I think jealousy and envy or something like that to that effect. So you guys are here. Maybe you could give the reason why there seems to be that tension between PFP or some members of PFP and the Minister of VROMI.
First of all, there is no tension. I believe jealousy would be the last word that I would use. But if you look at the track record, if you look at who goes on radio stations and mentions other people's names, not only now but last election as well, I believe that if you want to say the word jealous, then it's coming from the opposite side. When we look at VROMI, I believe I've been very transparent as to my history with VROMI, and hence why, as a parliamentarian, I was so keen on focus on VROMI, because I know what the issues are. And I believe I've said this on the radio a couple of times, and I've done it here as well. I've challenged the good MP on the topic of VROMI many times to do it publicly, to let's have a debate on it for the people to see on every single department, on every single topic in VROMI. You were the ministers for 4 years. I think it's time to actually show the people that you were qualified, because I personally disagree. I do not think that you were qualified, even though that was your campaign statement. And I think that these last 4 years have shown what your capabilities are as a minister of VROMI. So all you have done is go to the radio and lie. I believe yesterday he mentioned Mr. Woods. We had an employee in VROMI who passed away not too long ago, and he decided to go on the radio and use Mr. Woods as clout, as political, gain. And I disagree with that type of, just politician in general. I mean, if I'm going to be realistic about it, I can tell you that Mr. Woods was not happy with the then Minister Duran, because the moment he came in, he took away his tulacha that he was getting for doing extra work for VROMI. So up to the day that he passed away, whilst working on the fiber, he was still complaining about how Duran did him wrong. And you're going to use this same gentleman's name on the radio for clout. It's a shame. It's a shame. And then going back to alleging that we as the staff or the minister did not pay his funeral costs. I think I've sent you the confirmation where the minister signed off on the payment for his funeral costs the 24th of May. He went on the radio the next week and said those things.
But it takes time. There's a process involved.
We had to walk it. We had to walk that advice through general affairs and through finance ourselves to make sure that the family gets some money for their funeral. That already passed. The funeral wasn't now, guys. It passed before the advice even came up. And we made sure that the payment was done a week before. And then what do we get Monday? A former minister MP now comes to the radio and lies and then says he has it from good sources. Your sources are incorrect, factually incorrect. And if you do not agree, and if you have the facts, like I said, debate me on it publicly, and let's show the people the paperwork. Let's show them the proof.
That's it.
Because there's going to the radio and throwing a rock but then hiding. I am not for it, Soup. I am not that type of politician. I am right here in your face, and I think he knows this as well. So not to make it personal, but August 19th is not about him. It's about us. It's about everybody. At this point, it's about fixing VROMI up to that point. So that's what we're doing. So to confirm, there is no jealousy and animosity.
I hold no ill will towards the former minister. We just like things being done the right way. That's all it is.
He does have some nice suits. Maybe that's why you
I ain't got time for that, right? We're going to work. That's all it's about.
And the same way is one of the best dressed parliamentarians. Maybe that's why
I mean, I'm not a parliamentarian, so he can shine. He can take the shine. Go off.
Now, I know we're short on time, but Lucho, you're one of the policy advisors within VROMI. What are some other policies that you think are definitely needed? At least two policies right now that you think are definitely
so
needed.
In terms of policy,
and I know you can't get it done by August 19th. It takes a very long time for a policy to be written. But
there are some policies that are in the works. I know there's a housing policy. We also need to start looking at
the land policy.
Yes, that's one of the major things that we need to work And those are the two things that we're kind of focused on right now. We're also thinking about a policy for green spaces, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Because PFP has always been heavy on the environment, and the damage to the environment, precisely. The damage to the environment that we have suffered over the past 4 years. If you look at those big developments, we see what's going on. You understand? That damage to the environment is almost irreparable. So we need to start protecting our environment from right now. And so we had an idea, it's shooting around in our heads. We need to start looking at protecting certain areas of St. Martin. And so those are the policies that we're looking at.
There was also an issue
sewage as well too.
There was also an issue when it came to the contracts and how that process was done. The procedure when it comes to the garbage contracts
yes.
And the cleaning up contracts and whatever. I think that was also a task that was given to the minister to come up with a type of criteria. What was it again?
That's a task of policy for tendering.
Yes,
well, it's actually, I think it's an LB.
Right. Yeah, so we're supposed to have the LB for tendering coming in from the Ministry of Finance, and I believe Minister Gums is working on it. But also because VROMI is so heavily involved in the tendering, that's basically why we have to have an active role in it as well. Like you said, we have a systemic investigation that basically said that one of those processes it was deemed to be corrupt by the Ombudsman.
Let's not talk about the Ombudsman.
And we plan to continue with these systemic investigations from the Ombudsman. Right now, for example, I remember when MP Duran sued the people who received land from ministers in the past in regards to over the bank, just to stop the systemic investigation that was going on by the Ombudsman. We plan on retracting that court case and actually letting the Ombudsman do her job and give us the information, give us the facts, just like she did with the garbage collection. Because why? These things need to come out, and not only come out, they need to be followed up on. We have an integrity chamber there for a reason. Accountability has been a foreign aspect. I say it once again. So I believe that would be the only reason as to why the former MP likes us so much, mentions us so much, because he knows accountability is coming, and the people are going to see the truth.
Yeah, but even if you have to piggyback on the situation of Ombudsman, in the first week that we were in office, I got letters from the Ombudsman. These are complaints coming in, and so I was like, if these two have come in and the Ombudsman is talking about the ministry has not replied to these complaints in a timely manner, and so I asked for an extension, and then I also asked for all the complaints that the Ombudsman has. You don't want to see the complaints.
We received an 11-page letter from the Ombudsman yesterday.
Yes.
And it's concerning, guys. And it starts from 2020 to 2021 to 2022. The Ombudsman
she had to close these cases without having proper information from VROMI. No information whatsoever. You understand? And this means that the Ministry of VROMI cannot operate in a way for its people. If you have a complaint or if you have a problem with the ministry, we are supposed to be able to facilitate you. We can't do that right now. And that's what the Ombudsman is saying as well. There's about 30 cases that were closed that they never got a reply to.
But we do plan on contacting everybody to let them know that we are, looking at your case, and whether or not we cannot help you at this moment, we are going to inform you, because that's what you owe the people of St. Martin. You owe a civilian to inform them of your decision, and that's it. It's good governance, guys. It's integrity, and again.
I emailed the Ombudsman. I said I want to have a sit down. Let's sit down, let's talk, let's see how we can help each other.
Let's say August 19th comes around and PFP is not given the opportunity to get the Ministry of VROMI again. What would you recommend for the next incoming minister, whether it's Minister Duran or whoever else is chosen to be the Minister of VROMI at that point?
Well, I have to tell you that PNO has sent us an email after hearing these interviews by the former minister, and actually commended us for our new working relationship, and basically said it's a breath of fresh air compared to what they were used to these last 4 years. So any new incoming cabinet or whatever, continuity, guys. Work with the people. The people know what they're doing. So instead of coming in and stopping all requests from going through the regular procedure through the ministry first, and then basically telling them, no, it has to come directly to me now because I want to micromanage it. Let it follow the process. Let everybody get a div number. Let everybody be part of the system, and trust me, once you speak with PNO, with the department heads, with the staff, you're going to see that they actually have some good ideas. And all of them right now are basically telling us that what it was back then, it was basically all pressure. I believe 15 to 20 people left the ministry. And we are here now trying to fix it, trying to mediate through all of these things. So it's not even a very it's not even advice to them. It's just take care of the people.
Yes.
Like start there.
Yeah.
So what I would say to that is, before you want to do all these things for political clout within the Ministry of VROMI, fix VROMI first. Fix the ministry.
Now you mentioned continuity.
But
then you probably have some of the former members of government saying that you guys aren't continuing what we left. You guys are just preaching doom and gloom.
Listen,
there is nothing to continue. I like the housing foundation that he mentioned. The housing foundation was going to get stopped. We were going to lose that 20 million, and we went to the housing foundation. They told us, well, you guys had a deadline for March. This had to be done from government side. It has to be done performance agreement, etc. And guess what? Nothing was done. Ghost. So the housing foundation also commended us on being a little bit proactive to continue these cases that the former minister pretended to have pushed through, but by the end of the day, he just made a haphazard decision that came with no results.
For
so
many
it's
projects,
all delay.
We are behind schedule for almost all of the projects.
But he did approve many big building permits that GB has absolutely no clue about. So you got that going for if that can be considered as something positive, I guess, like you asked, then there you go. Some foreign developers have it going while we are in darkness.
Now, I think I have heard the minister in the past mention, the former minister in the past mention, listen, if I've done anything illegal, then take it to the prosecutor's office.
I believe that that's not our job. I believe that the prosecutor's office has eyes and ears of their own, and they themselves will approach us for the ministry or the information that they would need, because if I agree, if you have done something wrong, then let the prosecutor decide. That's kind of like the one thing that I could agree with the MP on, to be honest.
Listen, we also need to make a clear distinction between what is legal and what is right or what is wrong, because the two things they're not one and the same.
Because there is no sense of morality coming in. Oh well, I cannot stop GB because it's legally not. We don't have a legal basis. Create it. You're the minister. You have parliament. You have a coalition. You have the legislators on your side. Create the protective norms for our country, and that's not illegal or legal not to do it. It's just a matter of mindset. Are you being proactive? Are you for the country or not?
All right. Raeyhon Peterson and Luciano Nicholls here with us, candidates on Party for Progress. Upcoming snap elections, August 19th. Anything else you want to add before we sign off for the upcoming snap elections?
Yes, two things. Also to commend the ministry. The dire strains that you guys have had, and of course the cabinet as well. We are working overtime, and it's getting results. We have seen the areas. We have went to Belvedere, we have went to Ebenezer, we have went to Dutch Quarter. We are trying to prioritize all of the areas as well, because it's a lot of work, but it's not an excuse to not do your responsibility. So we're just commending the ministry for working with us. And I think that's it.
I too want to say that usher those same sentiments. Whatever civil service we have there right now, they're working hard. They're trying their best, and since we've been there, I can say a lot of them have been like, yo, this has been a breath of fresh air for us. We feel like we can actually move forward now. So good luck, guys. Keep on pushing. And for St. Martin, just remember there wasn't much that this government could have done in 17 days. But we're going to continue to do what we can up until election,
the last,
because we have to work anyhow, but just remember us on election day, and remember the ones that brought you the truth.
All right. Now, PFP is a fairly a new party to the arena. Any concerns with the upcoming newer parties that are coming up? We just saw that Sam just registered with the Electoral
Shout
Council.
out Frankie.
Also, Olivier Arundel, he also registered his party as well with the Electoral Council. Anything we saw URSM last election, they were a new party. They came in, they dominated. Any concerns now with these other new parties coming? Do you think it's going to maybe take away from PFP, or what is the party doing to say, we need to get back some of those votes that we probably lost as well in the last election?
It's kind of twofold for me. I mean, of course, I always welcome new parties. We were once a new party in the arena, so of course somebody's
this is democracy.
Yes, somebody's passive right to get voted. I commend them. I commend everybody for starting an association. Of course, when it comes to the contents of what you do, that is still to be seen. So you can't really speculate on the new parties. But for PFP, I do believe that we are growing. We are trying to get more
Precisely.
candidates for the next election, but also we are going to be more out there. Less town halls, less posters on the road, and just more interaction. Let's show the people, let's talk to the people, and let them know, because we believe that if somebody talks to you in person, that they can actually assess you better. And I think that that's been the issue. My concerns are not with the new parties; it's with the old parties. It's with the NA and the UP. It's with the ones who have actively tried, not only through Kevin Mingret, but through all other MPs, including our own, including other MPs from other parties that I know within the coalition, who have actively tried since day one to drop this with lies, with fake documents, with promises. And sadly, Kevin fell through. But it was the exact same stories after the fact. And that is what we need to look out for. People being opportunistic, not understanding that when the people choose and you have a coalition and an opposition, much like I personally did, you can hold down the fort for 4 years and still assist the government in doing your job. Your job as opposition is not to always try to get in. That is opportunistic, manipulative behavior from politicians. And I think that that should resonate with the people of Sumatra. If somebody is there to drop your government all the time, they are by definition ship jumpers. Don't vote them in.
I think that's the cue to wrap it up.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Raeyhon Peterson, and also thank you, Luciano Nicholls, for joining us today. Candidates on PFP for the upcoming snap elections. Before you leave, one more question. Question of the day: ice pop or ice cream? Tiebreak Tuesday. Which one would you prefer?
Ice pop.
Ice pop for you. Any specific flavor?
Not really.
No.
I'm just not the ice cream man.
Okay. All right. And what about you, already?
I'm not a sweets guy, but saying that, shout out to my daughter. She made 5 years old today, and she loves ice cream.
Happy birthday!
She loves all type of ice cream. So she's I'm going to share with her.
All right, there you go. Quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to wrap it up. Grab yourself a bottle of Root Boy made with natural ingredients. Try all the flavors today. Root Boy Original,